So just to kind of kick this off, the topic we're speaking to in this session is SaskPower's future supply plan for 2030 and beyond. This project's intended to support people who don't necessarily have a lot of background or in electricity. It's not just for engineers. So as a part of this, we want to help you understand a bit more about some of the various generation options. And then we can more easily get into understanding what's important to you. So there's 5 stages that you'll see up there, and the company is looking for input at each of these stages. Stage 1 began in September and through October. It's kind of a kickoff phase, and that was really about getting to understand how people want to participate in this process and looking at, is there a shared vision of what we think this might look like? Stage 2, which is where we're at now, is getting into some more details, identifying what matters most to people when building out power supply options. So some of those details are going to include assumptions and trade-offs. And of course, not all the trade-offs are strictly technical in nature or the kind just meant for engineers. SaskPower wants to understand what's important to Saskatchewan residents as they do some of that prioritizing. So stage 3, and you can see the timeline there as well. This is sort of taking place in the middle part of next year. By then, they'll be taking some of the feedback from this and laying out some possible scenarios. And that's going to be a way to deliberate on, various aspects. What are the benefits, drawbacks, risk, things like that. What we suspect is that there won't be one single right answer to this. Some of this is going to be an exercise in balancing and reconciling trade-offs on various aspects of this, like, the costs, the emissions, feasibility, various risks, things like that. So following that in stage 4, SaskPower is going to understand more clearly, what's important to people, and that's going to help them draft that long-term plan. And that's going to be shared with decision makers and, of course, include customer input and comments. So the final stage for this in kind of early 2024 is releasing the final report. And I think what you can expect to see in there is, basically a final report, but also, and that's going to act as a guideline for where this goes after that, but also including how customer feedback played a role in that and where it was used. And if there's a reason that it couldn't be used, offer some explanation as to that. So anyway, so that's a little bit on this process. And like I say, we are at stage 2 right now, very much early on with this. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in the presentation, just in terms of some of the ways that you can be involved in this and stay connected to it. So on the next slide here, just that video that I mentioned, I'm just going to play this back. Again, this video is about 2.5 minutes and gives you a little bit of an introduction on this. So I'll play that now.
The world around us is changing, and so is SaskPower. We're going cleaner, greener, and more innovative than ever before. Right now, our province is powered by natural gas, conventional coal, wind, hydroelectricity, and a few other options. But this is changing. Here's why. We're looking to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by building a cleaner power system for us, for you, and for everyone who comes after. Federal regulations are changing, and we need to retire conventional coal power by 2030. The carbon tax will also go up each year, and we need to add a lot more renewable power to our system to try and keep our power rates down. Our need for power is growing every year. We're going to need more and more power to keep Saskatchewan's economy moving and support other industries that start using electricity instead of fossil fuels, like trucking, for example. So we've set a goal to be carbon neutral by 2050 or sooner, while keeping power reliable, safe, and competitively priced for our customers. Here's how we'll do it. We'll reduce the amount of coal we burn or add carbon capture to our coal plants. We'll increase our clean, renewable power from wind and solar. To support those renewable power options, we'll need more natural gas, possibly with carbon capture, as well as more power from our neighbors. That's not all. We're looking at how large-scale battery storage could help. We're also getting ready to support power from biomass and geothermal energy sources. In the longer term, we're planning for an energy future that potentially harnesses nuclear power from small modular reactors. We're looking at all of our options for power to build a well-rounded, resilient electricity system. Every option is different, with its own pros and cons. Some take up only a small amount of land, while some take more. Some of the options are available now, while some are still being developed and aren't ready yet. Some don't emit greenhouse gas emissions and provide power part-time, while others run 24/7 year-round. Some cost less, while others cost more. And the cost of some new technologies is still being figured out. This is an exciting time for SaskPower, and we look forward to reinventing the power future with you. To learn more, visit saskpower.com/future supply.
So that video, by the way, is available on the SaskPower website. We'll have a link to that a little bit later on, but yeah, you can check that out again. So just as a starting point, and this is maybe a good chance if you want to look for the session tab on the right, and then if you want to look below that for the chat, and you'll see a couple of chats in there already. I started it off, and a few of other participants have said hello in there as well. And yes, we are live, by the way. First question, just what's top of mind for you today coming into this session? I'll just read a few of these options. If one of these sticks out, great. If there's something else that we haven't mentioned there, please feel free to drop that in as well. So some of the options, yeah, the cost of electricity, greenhouse gas emissions, reliability, Indigenous reconciliation and participation, economic development and jobs in Saskatchewan. Maybe something you've heard so far about future plans, whether that's something you're excited about or something you may have some concerns about, or maybe some other topic not listed. So yeah, just curious to hear what prompted you to come out and check this out this evening. So yeah, just drop that in the chat. So far, yeah, reliability and cost. But yeah, great, thank you. So I want to introduce Nanette here. And I'm going to be asking Nanette a few of these questions. So as I mentioned, she's the manager of supply planning at SaskPower. But Nanette's background and training is as a mechanical engineer, and she got into this with the goal of enabling a clean energy transition. And she's been working on this for 20 years. And so Nanette's going to graciously answer a few of my questions before I open it up to you in the chat there to ask her a few questions of your own. But really, Nanette's job and what she's after is making sure that she can ensure reliable, sustainable, and cost-effective power, again, as SaskPower moves towards a net zero greenhouse gas emissions future. So Nanette, let's start off with where we are at today. This is Saskatchewan's current power mix. And again, a lot of us probably don't think about where our power comes from. So just walk us through this current supply mix, and then maybe tell us, where are we going to see this shift in the future?
Okay, so you can see from our pie chart that we're still getting about 65% of our capacity from fossil fuels. And that's where we'll see the biggest shift in the future. This is where greenhouse gas emissions are in our system right now. We're regulated to retire conventional coal by 2030, so that will be changing. We do have about 20% of our capacity from hydro, and we've recently more than doubled our wind to 12%, and there's more coming there. We also have some other smaller projects. We're starting to get into solar, for example, and you can see our carbon capture and sequestration listed there on one of our coal plants and other.
Okay. Here's the forecast emissions chart here. So just tell us a little bit more about what we're looking at here. And I get the question, how quickly can this get done? I mean, initially it was 2050, but that's sort of getting bumped up. So just tell us, what's your take on how quickly we can get this transition done?
For sure. So you can see our emissions forecast had been to get to net zero by 2050. That was the plan. And we are committed to doing whatever is practical to move that forward. We don't currently feel that net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2035 is possible in Saskatchewan. There are technical, logistical, and financial constraints preventing that. And what I mean by that is technical, there's just some technologies that we need to rely on that aren't available to us yet. The current options don't quite get us there. And logistical, you can see there's only 12 years between now and then. We still have a ways to go. We are on track to meet our target of being 50% below 2005 levels by 2030. And we are on track to increase our renewables to up to 50% of our capacity by 2030 as well.
Okay. So I know it's a question that we get at SaskPower. And of course, in Saskatchewan, anyone who's grown up here, of course, we're blessed with a very sunny province, and we seem to have no shortage of wind. What stands between us? Why can't we just run on 100% wind and solar power?
Yes, we do really have great resources for wind and solar, and we are taking more and more advantage of that. Unfortunately, the wind isn't always blowing and the sun isn't always shining. So for those times, we do need that other steady source of power that can just provide power 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter the weather. And currently, that option for us is natural gas. We have it abundantly available to us, and it can ramp up and down quickly to follow those renewables. In the future, energy storage, for example, might develop. Maybe we'll be able to harness some other generations, such as nuclear. But for right now, it's really that natural gas backup that we need.
Okay. So on this slide here, I mean, people hear you talking about, whether technologies are available, today or in the future. And we definitely see a lot of, suggestions. I know that customers are really curious to know if SaskPower is looking at some of these new and emerging technologies. And of course, this event is largely focused on nuclear, but can you sort of, aside from that, can you talk about the availability of some different technologies, besides nuclear power that SaskPower is looking at?
For sure. And I've spoken to some of the ones for the near term. Others include battery energy storage. We have our first battery energy storage facility coming online in Regina next year. We're also looking at compressed air energy storage and other methods there. As that technology develops, we'll take more advantage of that. Demand side management is energy efficiency measures or perhaps shifting load from peak times to off-peak times. Distributed energy resources are a bit smaller scale for us right now, but that's things like net metering, solar panels on people's homes. In the future, we're looking to expand our knowledge on carbon capture and sequestration. We have a coal plant that has that. Potentially, we could put that on some of our natural gas facilities, or we could transition their fuel from natural gas to something like hydrogen, for example.
Okay. Maybe just more broadly, and again, you've highlighted some of the key technical considerations that you and your team are looking at. I guess any other thoughts? I mean, what's important to be considering as you go through this transition? How do you think you're going to approach this?
Yeah, we're really looking to look at what new technologies are available and consider, how low can we get greenhouse gas emissions? How quickly can we get there? And we're really interested in this period of change in speaking with the public and learning what's important to them. And that's why we're embarking on this engagement process right now. And we'll come out with a long-term plan that we've sort of built up with the public as we go forward.
Okay, thank you.